Alright, guys, we've got ourselves a conclusion to the Odell Beckham Jr. saga, and it's not the one that most people wanted. Although, at least I guess we didn't have to wait a week to figure out how it was going to end. It has ended in a way that very few people in my community are going to be happy with. Per Adam Schefter, just like 2 minutes ago on Twitter, former Browns wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. is finalizing a deal with the, wait for it, you didn't see this one coming, at least I didn't, the Los Angeles Rams, per sources. So they came in hot and heavy at the last second out of nowhere, and whatever they sold to Odell, it worked on him a whole heck of a lot better than what anyone else was trying to sell him. Better than what we tried to sell him with Wilson, better what Rodgers and Devontae tried to sell him in Green Bay, Mahomes in Kansas City. Whatever they tried, it didn't work the way that the Rams worked because they swooped in and it almost seems like they just said two words to him and he came a running. So Odell Beckham Jr. signing with the Rams. We don't know the money yet. I don't know if the money really matters here. We know that the Rams are right up against the salary cap, so whatever they offered could not have been much. This could not have been a decision about money. This had to be a decision about trying to play for a team that has a chance to make a deep playoff run and win the Super Bowl. And there must for some reason Odell feels like that's more likely in LA than Green Bay. So there's a lot to digest about this from the perspective of him signing with the Rams. I'm going to just briefly say that I don't really understand why the Rams are signing a wide receiver when they just cut a wide receiver because he couldn't get on the field. I know Odell's probably better than Deshaun Jackson at this point. In fact, he's definitely better than Deshaun Jackson, I think, but you've still got that same kind of issue of your wide receiver core is pretty well defined right now. So, how does Odell get on the field? And when he does, is he going to get targeted? We know that Stafford and Kupp have this great chemistry right now. They got Robert Woods still. Van Jefferson obviously is coming along as a second-year receiver. So I don't know how Odell fits into these plans, and I don't know how Odell feels like he's going to get enough targets to make a case for his for a bigger contract next year. But that's really all I care to say about it from the perspective of the Rams. Because at the end of the day, I'm a Seahawks fan. I'm a Seahawks content creator. I got to talk about this from the perspective of the Seattle Seahawks. And let me first say that just to get it out of the way, just to cover my bases here, I understand that this team clearly made an effort to get Beckham. They did. It didn't work. When you're a free agent, as a player, you can go wherever you want to go. And sometimes you can try to get a player, and then the player just decides, I'd rather go somewhere else. And that could be for any reason. It could be because he wants to play in warm weather in LA. It could be because he wants to maybe be closer to a family or a friend or something that we as a fan, an observer, can't know about. I understand that. But what I'm about to say about this team and this front office and this coaching staff isn't just about Odell Beckham Jr. because I've said it before and I'll say it again. I cannot honestly say that I'm 100% confident that Odell would have drastically improved this team, that he would have produced, that he would have helped this team win, that he would have helped this team make a playoff run. I can't say any of that. I know he's injury prone. I know he's a bit of a head case. I know all these things about Odell. So it's not so much about Odell. It's about Odell and going back to last year, Antonio Brown. Going back to the most recent offseason, Julio Jones. It's about basically every offseason that the Seahawks have faced since winning a Super Bowl. And if you take a look at the body of work of this front office when it comes to signing big name free agents, since the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, it's essentially non-existent. And I've talked about this a little before, but I was going to hold back on giving the full rigmarole until after the OBJ stuff got settled. But now that it's settled, I feel like this is a great time to really bring it to bear. I wonder if there's a team in the NFL over the last 8 years that has failed to bring in more big name free agents than the Seattle Seahawks, because by my count, since the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, they have not signed one. And this Beckham thing, while he's not even at the top of the list of big name free agents that you could have gotten, he is one that you could have gotten who was a big name, who was somebody your quarterback liked, somebody your quarterback would have wanted to play with, somebody that your quarterback worked very hard to get, and at the end of the day you couldn't get him, and we need to dissect that some. So, this team, since Pete Carroll got here, has, to my memory, signed 4 big-name free agents from other teams. Sidney Rice, Zach Miller, Cliff Averill, Michael Bennett. That is it. Sidney Rice, Zach Miller, Cliff Averill, Michael Bennett. 2 of those guys were signed after 2010. 2 of those guys were signed after 2012. So basically, the last time the Seahawks signed a free agent from another team of consequence, of, a big name, somebody that would have turned heads and gotten attention, the Seahawks had yet to win a Super Bowl. That's how long it's been. So, I don't know if you can say that about any other team in the NFL. And let me be clear about something, because I've also said this before and I want to reiterate because it's still true. Free agency is where you go when you mess up. Free agency is where you go to fix your problems from the draft. If you do not draft well, you go to free agency to overpay somebody to fill the hole on your roster. I understand that. However, this team has not drafted well really since they won the Super Bowl overall. They've been one of the worst drafting teams in the league, I think. So, the fact that we have this bad track record of drafting over the last 8 years and we still don't sign these big name free agents, when you think about it, it's kind of a miracle this team manages to make the playoffs every year. But it also goes a long way to explaining why the team never makes a deep run in the playoffs anymore. We're going on, 8 years now without a deep playoff run to show for it. We have nothing of real consequence to show for the last several years. And when you look at all the big name players that the Seahawks have brought in, it's always via trade. Jimmy Graham, Jamal Adams, Jadeveon Clowney, Dwayne Brown, even guys like Gabe Jackson and Bradley McDougald. It's always a trade. Going way, way back, you could even talk about like Marshawn Lynch and Percy Harvin. So, what I'm really trying to get at here, what I'm really trying to bring into perspective after the OBJ thing is wrapped up, because again, just OBJ, I wouldn't even be talking about this. If this was just about one player and one free agent who could have gone to you but decided not to, then I wouldn't even be saying anything. But over the last 8 years, this has happened over and over again. The free agents that we do sign are guys like Tony McDaniel and Gerald Everett. Not bad players, but just guys. So what I'm trying to get at here is, it seems like players don't really want to play in Seattle right now. And not only is that true right now, it seems like that was even true when the team was coming off back-to-back Super Bowl appearances and a Super Bowl victory. Now, you could attribute some of that to the team not trying to get big-time free agents because they had a lot of talent from the draft, because they initially were drafting well, but you can't say that now after failed draft after failed draft after failed draft. So I have to conclude right now with yet another example right in front of us. Players, the big name players, the really desirable, high talent, high price tag players who have options, who have leverage, they don't want to come here. And I think back to the Mike Holmgren era where you did see those big free agent signings from time to time. I remember giving Julian Peterson $50 million. Grant Wistrom was a free agent signing. TJ Hushmanzada was a free agent signing. I think Bobby Engram was as well. You can find significant free agent signings from the pre Pete Carroll Seahawks. Not all of them worked, not all of them were good, but you can find significant free agent signings. Even if you want to say Nate Burleson, I know you had to steal him away from the Vikings, but he was still a free agent. So you can find examples of giving significant money to name players in free agency. So at the end of this little diatribe here, I'm starting to wonder, do players not want to play for Pete Carroll? Do they feel like he's not going to do a good job of putting their talents on display? Because to me, at this point, with this happening so many times, like I said, we haven't signed a big name free agent by my recollection since before we won the Super Bowl. It's either players don't want to play for Pete Carroll, or John and Pete tap out the moment the price tag becomes inflated. Because the thing is, when you're talking about free agents of significant value, free agents who are considered to be among the most desirable, you're going to have to overpay. That it is what it is. You're bidding against other teams. The price is going to go up. The price is going to go up to a point where you might go, I don't know if he's worth that, but that's the price you pay when you have to go to free agency to fill your team's holes in the first place. So either this team taps out every time because they feel like they can outsmart everybody, because they feel like they can just get better value out of players that they pay a lot less and have a lot less talent, but they feel like they can get better value on a per dollar basis, or do players just not want to come here? I don't know which one it is. Feels like it's one of the two, and this is another reason why this regime needs to go. So, once again, Odell Beckham Jr. signing with a division rival, signing with a team that, to my knowledge, has no cap room right now, so I don't know how they're pulling this off, but they found a way, which, I mean, the Seahawks continue to not find ways to get better. This was really one of your last chances, maybe your last chance this season to try to get better, and you not only didn't do it, you let a division rival do it. So my conclusion here, when you take a look at the body of work of this front office over the last 8 years basically, is either players don't want to play for Carroll, in which case he needs to get out of here, or John and Pete don't understand that when you fail in the draft, you have to go overspend in free agency to make up for it, and they're not willing to do that, in which case they both need to get out of here. Honestly, they probably both need to get out of here anyway, but this was something that really was kind of eating at me these last several days, but I didn't want to talk about it until after the Beckham stuff resolved itself. But now that we see Beckham going to a team like the Rams that apparently wasn't even that involved until just, it feels like 5 minutes ago, it really kind of hammers home this unfortunate fact that it seems like the only way we can get desirable players in Seattle is by trading for them. When they have a choice, they constantly choose to go somewhere else, and I'm kind of tired of it. So let me know what you guys think down below. Am I being unfair? Is there some player that I've forgotten about that chose to sign a big free agency contract with Seattle? I want to hear it. I want to hear it. But to me, this is yet another sign that either players are not interested in playing under Pete Carroll because they feel like he's not going to maximize their talent. He's not going to maximize their ability. He's not going to put them on display the right way. They feel like his schemes and his philosophies are out of date. Or this team is simply not willing to bust out the checkbook when the time comes, which is something that I talked about in the Blue Pill video this morning. And you wouldn't have even needed to do that for OBJ. He would not have required that much money, I don't think. We'll find out more when we see what the Rams gave him, but I have a feeling it's not going to be that much. All right, so we'll talk about this more later today in the Hawks Nest stream, by the way. That should be coming up in a couple hours. Keep an eye out for that. See you guys then. Peace out. Go Hawks. Another disappointment, but let me know what you guys think down below, and I'm sure you guys are going to have plenty to say about this one, because this kind of came out of nowhere, and for me, it really kind of hammers home this fact that there's something wrong with this team that is not appetizing to these other players. See ya.